in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of New Jersey, in what was once a Catholic church, past the pulpit from whence the weekly homily was read, beyond the cupboards filled with sacramental wine. A secret society assembles to scrutinize those films rumored to drive viewers to madness and dissolution. Draw closer, dear listener, and let your trembling ears sup upon the eldritch knowledge of the Cinemania Society.
We the fellows of the Lens Hall do convene to judge if the cinema worthy of our esteem, or whether it should be cast down as worthless hokum. Let us don our feathers in judgment.
We the fellows... Oh. The story so far. Finding refuge from the diabolical apocalypse of New Jersey, the group decided to shelter in an old church and hold a conclave comedy religious drama Dogma from director Kevin Smith, in which Ben Affleck is trying to end the world and not just establish lore of any beloved comic book franchises. Meanwhile, a group of vicious, saintly killers...
Die, you heretic schmuck!
Jesus, Joseph and Mary!
It's Marie!
That one is on me!
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to hit you with a pancake.
We need to find weapons.
Can we weaponize these long strings of anal beads?
Those are rosaries, but under the circumstances, yes.
Well, you'd have to be a serious tight ass for those to work as anal beads.
Back! Back! What is the law? Are we not men?
No!
Fly, you fool! The Knights of Continuity have an unbroken killing streak.
Over here, get behind these statues.
Who is this lady? Really? Now? Knowledge is power.
That's Hildegard von Bingen. She's the patron saint of writers. That definitely applies to us.
What about this bird dude?
You mean the Archangel Gabriel?
The X-Men?
Yeah, he's the patron saint of messengers.
Podcasters count.
Do you actually believe in any of this?
Not really, but I mean, they are the biggest statues here.
Wait, where's Brother Andy?
Over there. The one that looks like St. Peter's got him.
Oh no, he's going to judge him.
Can I throw this weird metal ball thingy?
Oh, yeah, that's an incense decanter. It's probably full of ashes.
Good enough for me!
1, 2, 5!
Motherfucker!
Andy, over here!
I thought I was done for.
That was a good shot, wasn't it?
You know, I don't normally give compliments.
But...
Well, I'm not about to start now.
The smoke is clearing. I see them cowering behind the statues.
We need a proper distraction.
Daniel, my brother, I will offer to serve you in this life and make you all powerful, and all it will cost you is...
Yeah, just sure, great, whatever. Go make it happen.
Hey, what the hell?
What the hell is there?
I'm gonna
This
box
tripping
you.
is up.
Nice. They're getting tangled up in those robes he was playing in.
Quick, leg it while they're distracted.
In here.
That's my dick.
Rather a tight squeeze.
Better elbows than our necks.
I think these confessional booths are soundproof.
Is that where we are?
Oh, I thought we were in the Fancy Johns.
Well, that explains the smell.
Soundproof, you say? Perfect. Then we can finish our conclave that was so rudely interrupted by the Knights of Continuity.
Isn't it ironic?
Don't you think?
No.
But we still have judgments to render.
It's supposed to be the other way around in the confessional.
Ew, my spine has collapsed.
Again.
Oh, alright, well, since that's all said and done, maybe we should all pass our judgment. Zach, you go first. Sure you got a lot to say on this?
Yeah, I
Coming
do.
from a Jewish background, well, how does all this Catholicism hit you?
All right.
Did you say, wow?
I did say wow. And I'm a big fan of the Buddy Christ now, thanks to this movie. Having grown up in the Jewish faith, I didn't know much about Catholicism until I started dating a Catholic girl, as most good Jewish boys do. And viewing the film,
Your mother would be so disappointed.
Oh, actually, they got along really well, which is kind of ironic, don't you think?
No.
So, as someone who really didn't know much about Christianity at all, I went into this movie mostly as a Kevin Smith fan, and I was really wondering why everyone was so pissed off at Silent Bob. To quote Smith himself, "How can you take this movie seriously? It has a poop monster." It wasn't really till I took a Western philosophy class in college that I really understood how deeply Smith's lampooning of the church went. And
Wait. I feel like we could say the exact same thing about the Bible. Like, how can you take this seriously? It has a literal poop monster in it.
Oh, ain't that some shit?
Amongst other things.
Yeah, truly, right? That was kind of his take, But then I kind of took a look at the Catholic Church in general and realized that they're not really known for their sense of humor or ability to take criticism. It's like Mel Brooks wrote, "You can't talk them out of anything." Lord talk him out of. I guess there's a little context for that joke. All right. But for all of his criticism of the church, I think that Smith actually ends the movie on a very positive beat when it comes to religion and spirituality. It's just, once again, he points out that the corporeal entity of the church and the dogma that it instates, and that the church has used to control these elements, that need to change. But as we have seen in the decades since this movie's release, the church has refused to change and has, in fact, in my opinion, doubled down on some of its more troublesome beliefs and engaged in really problematic cover-ups of its scandals with its clergy. Because of that, I have to judge this film guilty of making me believe that the Catholic Church could change for the better.
All right. So basically people are the problem. Good to know.
Yeah. God's fine until people got involved.
Who's got their judgment ready to roll?
I'm ready to go. Well, I remember this film from way back in the late 90s when me and my university buddies would all get high and watch things like this. And it was one of those films that everyone loved and thought was oh so clever and funny. So I thought, I'm going to enjoy this. It's a trip down memory lane for me. But I have to say, on rewatching it now, I was surprised at how mild the film is. I mean, people talk about it skewering the church, but it really doesn't, because it makes mild little funny jabs at little Catholic foibles. But ultimately, it says, faith is a wonderful thing. It's great to believe in something. Get the message right, even if you don't belong to any specific denomination. Nonsense, I say. That is mealy-mouthed quizzling language, and I denounce it at every turn. I wanted more acid and more bite, and I think that over time, this film has ended up becoming a bit deflated. I mean, you could watch Father Ted on TV and get a far more scorching excoriation of the Catholic Church than you see here. So after deciding on careful review, after watching this film, I did like it originally, but sadly, it doesn't go far enough. It is of its time, and it suffers for that, and so I find it guilty.
So wait. So what you're saying is, given how mild the movie's criticism actually is, but the reaction to it was huge, even at the time, right? And people are still pretty pissed off about it this day on the hardcore right, Christian right. That there must have been something else going on with this movie, and it must have been infecting people at the time with Cinemania for them to have overreacted.
Yeah, the audience is weak.
No one still has yet explained to me exactly what Cinemania is.
There's no time for that now. We're busy with Judgment. We'll get to that later. Everyone knows what Cinemania is.
Yeah, it's very obvious.
Just it's in the intro pamphlet,
which was in the building that was demolished.
Moving on.
Who else wants to judge the movie?
I'll go. So one of the things that struck me as I was watching this is just how young everyone looks, particularly Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes. I mean, they, like, I know that the people talked about him being a young independent filmmaker, and then when I think about it, on reflection, because I was in film school when this movie came out, about like he had made Clerks in 1993.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
30 years.
Yeah, and you think about it, and you're like, okay, so he made Clerks in 1993, and 6 years later, he was making this big budget feature that had Alan Rickman, Selma Hayek, Matt Damon, and Ben Affleck. Like, astonishing.
He pretty much
instead of
discovered
calling him
Ben Affleck,
Ben Affleck, you should call him one half of the Benifer duo.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Moving right
It's
along.
a running joke with me that I call him Ben Affleck.
Okay.
It's okay. Moving
It's
right
a
along.
running. It's a personal running joke. With me. But in any event, I was just astonished at like how young he is, and thinking about the like the kind of the thought in production terms is that people often don't end up becoming a director until they're in their 40s, and then it's through their 40s through their 60s that they kind of refine their craft. And Kevin Smith is, he was young. He is still pretty young. Like he's still, he's in his 50s, early 50s now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's more or less, I wouldn't say retired exactly, but I mean like his career is kind of at the tail end at this point. Like he's making Clerks 3, but I mean, he's not actively making movies the way he was in the 90s. Anyway, and not that this is all about Kevin Smith, but it just boggles my mind. And how many film students, myself included, looked at his work and were like, oh, I can do that.
He really was a big inspiration to a lot of indie directors he was the guy you could look at and go like, look, he did it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing that's frustrating about this is that as much as I love Kevin Smith's work and I admire him as a person, he is a truly decent person who has worked on himself. He's one of these folks who, he has talked openly about his process of going through therapy, and talked about, his own personal abuse, and been very, very frank and open with the public about it. And I admire that and I applaud that. And on the other hand, the thing that's the most frustrating to me, his success is the long con of the film industry. And you're thinking about how many different kids went into film school after seeing Kevin Smith and the success that he had. And this is, again, no shade at Kevin Smith. He has repeatedly talked about how he is, an incredibly lucky human being. And I absolutely agree. And how many kids ended up seeing his example and going out to film school and who are now, who have spent most of their adult lives trying to barely scrape by and make ends meet. I don't hold Smith responsible for that. I hold Harvey Weinstein responsible for that.
So a couple of funny things here. So one, Kevin Smith dropped out of film school. He didn't finish.
I know. No, I know that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how many kids, who grew up, from my generation of people who grew up on, the first generation to grow up with home video, watching movies, and went to film school. And a lot of his work was held up as an example by what was a massive con in the education industry, right? Mm-hmm. Every fucking school has a film school, right? How many kids put themselves into inescapable debt going into film school because they saw Kevin Smith and they were like, I can do that too. And they were conned by basically the college loan industry.
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm totally with you. Yeah, because that's the key detail they all leave out of their stories. Like Kevin Smith never actually finished, right? Yeah. They're not going to tell their kids that because they want the kids to keep spending the money on them. Kevin Smith also has been really open about his dependency of his early rise. That he's sick to his stomach that he has to credit Harvey Weinstein and Kevin Miramax with his success. Right? He talks about
Kevin Smith even.
And I absolutely
Yeah, he even talks about with Clerks how he got the funding for Clerks was he worked in a video store and he put down the manager as a reference for credit cards. Then he applied to all of the credit cards and and he answered the calls for the reference because he was the store manager. He indebted himself, and what he has said, well, like when I was standing there listening to him talk, when someone asked him, probably due to Dogma, if he believes there is a God, and he said, I most definitely do. The fact that I have a career is proof to me that God exists.
Well, Kevin Smith may have a career, but it turns out there can be only one, because it really is Highlander rules.
Yeah,
It
that's
really
that's
is.
what I'm getting at, though. It isn't so much Kevin Smith, because I respect him. I like him as a person. I like how open and honest he is, and how much he has really tried to dissuade people from doing dumb shit like he did, personally indebting himself to make his film, which is the worst bet a person can make. Like film investment is one of the riskiest investments, period. And so, that he has been open and honest about it. But the problem is that he is the Horatio Alger of the film industry. He is the person that is held up by all these other people who are conning people into going into film. I think he kind of understands this. I don't think he's the bad person. It's all the other people who are exploiting his example as a way to funnel people into
Overpriced independent film schools.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know, because I attended one, and none of the people that I was in my class are actually working in film anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they're being fed into this meat grinder of the film industry, which in a lot of ways paved the way for a lot of abuses that other businesses took from the example of the way that people working in the film industry were exploited, and said, we need to do that to our workers. And so, and that's the thing. Like I said, I don't dislike Kevin Smith. And if he hears this, I don't want him to feel guilty for his success, because he worked his ass off. That's fine. It's, I respect him for that. He's a creative person. He's done some fantastic work. I like how open and honest he is about everything. It's unfortunate that his example was exploited by all of the people around him, the people trying to channel folks into that exploitation engine that is Hollywood. It's all of the folks who work in the industry, or who think I can work my way up into directing and making films and being creative if I just start by handing around coffee.
Yeah, because all those exactly, because all those kids who went through the film school thing and now they owe hundreds of thousands of dollars, the only thing they know to do to get a foot in the door is to work 20-hour days, 7 days a week for shoots, and it's like,
and they burn themselves out.
Yeah, and it's cheap labor for the film productions.
Yep, the industry knows that, and they work off that. Like it would not be able to exist without that easily exploitable labor.
All those interns.
Yeah, them chasing that dream, and it's really sad. And that's the thing that, like, personally, I have an IMDb page. I have got lots of credits on it, and I think about how much sacrifice, like personal sacrifice, that I went through to get that, and I'm not even that successful. Like, I've had people come up to me in the general film market where I am and ask me if I will give talks motivating local young film students and telling them about my experience. And I was like, do you really want me to do that? And they're like, what do you mean? I said, because I'm going to tell them, get the fuck out of the film industry and go do something else. And they're like, well, we don't want people to feel like you're crushing their dreams. And I was like, their dreams are how they're being exploited.
You got a little bitter there. I understand.
Well, I told people, like when I was because I taught a film class. That's where I met Alessa. I do think it's important for people, like if they really want to do that. I don't want to tell kids, give up your dream, go get a job mopping floors.
But you do that so well.
I could do that. I mean, but I also want to I want to encourage people and tell them, but I also want to give them a real, frank assessment that no, Kevin Smith got the equivalent of winning the lottery. And if you are building your life and planning your life on the idea that you're going to win the lottery, no. Like, go, get a job. And if you want to work in the industry, know what the hazards are, know what the expectations are. Don't burn yourself out. Don't let people exploit your dream.
Plan too.
Yes, have a backup plan. If you want to get a degree in something that you can have your backup plan in. Like if you want to work in the film business, get a business degree. but like also understand that there are people who are going to dangle that promise, that dream that you're going to get to have creative control in front of you as a way to motivate you to get to exploit yourself.
Yeah, and they're not good people. They are people like...
There are legitimately bad people who use this system cynically to exploit the young for their labor. But there are also people who are good people who still believe in the dream, who feed that dream. I don't think they're bad people because they're not bad. Their motivations aren't bad. But ultimately what it comes down to is that you have to, it is a tremendous amount of luck. And if Kevin Smith wants to believe in God, and this is his way of saying, this movie is his way of saying, I believe in God, then more power to him. But I'm an atheist for a reason. And my experiences kind of inform me that blind fucking chance is much more likely than a benevolent God, because a benevolent God would not look at this system and allow it to continue. The fact is, if things had broken just a little differently for Kevin Smith, Harvey Weinstein would have identified and elevated some other screenplay-clutching Gen X schlub raised on home video and ganja and marketed him as an icon to a generation of suckers. And chances are we'd be talking about that guy instead. So for that reason, and all the other reasons listed, I judge Dogma guilty.
Well, I don't know that we can argue with that.
When it comes to film school, granted, I didn't spend 4 years or $100,000. I only did a year for $30,000, very strategically. However, I feel like it does give some good skills that you can use in other fields, like communications. For example, editing skills, or knowing how to composite a shot so your subject's not in the center, or understand lighting so you're not backlit and getting blown, completely dark in the front or blown out, and side lighting, and understanding how to use basic microphones and stuff like that, all really elevate your social media content if you're doing communications or marketing or any of those kind of things. So I think there are some good skills to learn in film school.
I agree that those are valuable skills to learn, but I think those are skills that you can learn in a workshop over a couple of different weekends, or, like a film camp where you go for a week or something. But I definitely don't think that skill set are things that people should beggar themselves to learn. Like, I ended up $25,000 in debt, inescapable college debt that, I thought, and I went out and started working immediately, but I'm still paying that debt off. And I'm thinking about how many other people in my generation and those who came later who went to these private institutions that set up this film school and got conned, and they're trapped in tens of thousands, if not like low hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt that it's going to chase them for the rest of their lives that you can't default on. Like it is a con. Ultimately, those skills are important, because, in my opinion, video production skills are the 21st century version of literacy, because we're all carrying around the equivalent of a Gutenberg press in our pockets. We can all do video production on our own using our smartphones. But like knowing the basics of how to frame a shot and tell a competent visual story is important, but it ain't worth $100,000 fucking dollars. And it isn't worth somebody sacrificing their lives and their careers and their families, chasing the dream that someday I'm going to become a director. I got super close. Like I have mentioned a few different times, I have had a feature film that was greenlit. We were ready to go. The pandemic hit and all the money dried up. But at the time, if I had pursued that, if the money hadn't dried up, I wouldn't be married. I wouldn't be able to see my kids. I wouldn't have my family. There is a reason why people in the film industry are almost to a person. Like, I'm one of maybe 3 people I've met in my entire working life who is on the same marriage he started on.
So the way that you're talking about the film, like filmmaking as a whole, and then the film industry and film schools, it sounds very, very metaphorical. Like it really maps onto, in the movie, the way he talked about religion and spirituality as a whole versus organized religion in the churches. Like it's great to have this spirituality and to want to reach whatever spiritual goals you have, or have whatever connections you have. But these not industries, but like churches, these organizations that want to take your money and your time and your life and subject you to nitpicky little rules and make you do it their way.
If you work hard, you too can achieve salvation. See, this one person did it.
Yeah. And in the past, you used to have to pay for those plenary indulgences and stuff like that. It's very much the same metaphor that you've got going here. Smith was saying about organized religion and spirituality in general. It's great to have, and you should know some of these basics, but the people who are making you follow nitpicky rules and telling you specific things and, trying to control your life are not the way to go about it. They're the ones ruining it.
So you're saying I don't need to know how to rotate the wine in my wine cellar specifically for Passover in order to be a good person?
I think what she's saying is you don't need to pay $30,000 to a private school to teach you the right way to rotate your wines in your wine cellar so that you can go to Passover.
Fair point. It's counterclockwise, by the way.
As long as the wine's being rotated, that's all that counts.
Okay.
I mean, as long as it's strong, then...
So, okay, Hope, you clearly have thoughts. What's your judgment, O Pontifex?
All right, well, I do kind of consider myself a recovering Catholic. I'm definitely an atheist now, but I was raised Catholic. But, I mean, I've been questioning the church for as long as I can remember. I remember being about 5 or 6, leaving church with my dad, leaving Mass. And so I remember being probably 5 or 6, 7 at the oldest, leaving Catholic Mass with my dad. And they always read, there's always a reading during Catholic Mass. And they always say a reading from the book of Mark, Joe, I don't know, Adrian, whoever, a reading from the book of so-and-so. And then at the end, they say, this is the word of God. So I remember leaving church and asking my dad, why do they say it's the word of God when they just said it was the book of so-and-so? Didn't so-and-so write it? And he goes, yeah, but God told them to write it, or it's still God's words, and they just wrote it down for him. I was like, but that doesn't make any sense. Then why do they call it the book of so-and-so? And he's just like, stop asking questions. So I've been questioning Catholicism for about as long as I can remember. And I personally, I'm an atheist, but I kind of feel like it's fine for everyone to believe whatever the hell they want to believe, as long as they're not fucking with anybody else. Like, that's how I feel about it. So, when you want to pass laws or, when you're refusing medical care for your children who don't have a say, that's, I think, when you've crossed the line, that's when the organized religion part becomes detrimental. But
fucking with other people is organized religion's speciality.
I know, right? So if you want to believe whatever you want to believe, you want to worship in your own way, you want to feel your feels, and talk to whoever you want in your head, and have all the imaginary friends you like, or, believe that miracles happened or whatever, that's fine. But just don't fuck with anybody else, leave the Crusades in the past. That's how I feel about it. And I kind of feel like that's what this movie's saying, for agreeing with everything that I've thought about religion. I would judge this movie guilty for reaffirming everything that I've thought.
Huh. Not what I expected.
Huh? That's not what you thought? What do you think I was going to say?
Well, it agrees with you. How can something be guilty if it agrees with you?
Well,
aren't we all a bit guilty, really, Mr. Jewish man?
It makes us all question. I'm questioning things, and now everyone's questioning things. So
what?
Now we're all curious and confused and questioning, and it's guilty of confusing all of us. So, is religion okay or not okay? We're all confused.
Well, all right then. Well, I'll give my judgment then. My experience was a little bit different from Zach's. I actually, for whatever reason, I was always interested in religions in general, so I knew a fair amount about Catholicism, Christianity, different flavors of it, Buddhism, and so forth coming into the movie, despite my Jewish upbringing. Also, this was Jersey. So at least amongst my circle of weird, nerdy, ostracized people, Kevin Smith was also a religion. And so that was what we were going into the movie with. We knew what was coming. We knew what was going on. But for a lot of people around me, this was their first real exposure to Kevin Smith, or even awareness of Kevin Smith, right? I think Brother Ethan made a really good point that, like, of all of his movies, this is the one that made him truly that sellable, success story for all of the hucksters running the film schools and the film industry, right? Dogma is what really broke him mainstream, like really broke him mainstream wide, right? Chasing Amy a little bit, it was this, indie darling that a few more people who were outside of the View Askew universe were starting to talk about.
Well, and I mean, Clerks was so indie, it was black and white,
Yeah, right. Back when he couldn't afford color film.
Yeah, but he played it off like a choice. He played it off really well.
Oh, yes, he did. Yeah. So suddenly there I was, right? And me and my friends, like, we knew about Kevin Smith. We talked about Kevin Smith. And yet suddenly here was everyone else for the first time around us talking about Kevin Smith. It was like we had walked into this weird alternate universe where what we thought about and our little world wasn't just a self-contained one, but it was like the rest of it expanded. It was very confusing to us. It was just this weird, trippy experience, like something was wrong. And that, my friends, let me tell you, that is a clear sign of cinemania right there. So this film is so goddamn fucking guilty, it hurts. And I think that just leaves us with Professor Andrea and your judgment.
So you're saying it's guilty because it let all the normies in on your little nerd world.
It was a very confusing time for us.
All right, Professor Andrea, what do you have to say?
Well, I think the reason that this movie is guilty is because you start with a character, Bethany, who is sincere. She goes to church. She's suffering doubts, but she wants to believe. It was the way she was raised. She feels like a connection somehow to spirituality like that. And the movie poses questions that I'm sure Bethany would have. Like, why does it feel like God doesn't speak to people? People say that all the time, right? Why is it silent? Well, in this movie, the answer is it causes them to explode.
But then also, why is the Metatron silent then? Why doesn't the Metatron talk to more of us?
So you have this very sincere question, and the answer is very ridiculous and comedic. And then another question people often ask is God fallible or infallible, right? And the movie's answer to that profound question is, if God was proven wrong, existence would become non-existence, which is a bit of a letdown. But even worse than all of that.
Wait, that bit totally reminds me of the Babelfish part in Hitchhiker's Guide. Obviously it couldn't have evolved by chance, and so that defies faith, and without faith I'm nothing, so therefore I don't exist because you've proven that I would have to exist. It's the same lines, right?
Right. Not to mention a paradox like that does seem like a bit of a design flaw or a defect, which therefore is a fallibility. But yeah.
And the two beings who are most dedicated to proving God wrong, therefore denying all of existence, actually have met God personally, which is kind of disturbing if you think about it. But I think the biggest flaw in the film is that the fact that they think anyone thinks this plan could actually work. Because if the two angels pass through the gate of plenary indulgence, they have to die without committing any other sins, as we've proved today is very difficult. But they have a plan. Their plan is death by cop, which is actually a suicide plan, and suicide is a sin. Therefore, this plan should never have functioned in the first place.
Suicide by cop is kind of a gray area.
It's like planning your death. Therefore, it's it's a plan for suicide. Therefore, should count as a sin.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I agree with you.
Yeah, and I don't think St. Augustine ever addressed it.
I don't think cops had guns in his time.
I don't think that the angel's plan could have ever worked. Therefore, for all of these logical fallacies, I must judge this film guilty of cinemania.
A very, very well thought out judgment, Professor Andrea. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I think that closes us out. That's it for Dogma.
All right.
Sorry for all the religiosity, folks, but that was my pick for the season.
So that's how it works? You have to keep going back to confession every time you sin to get your soul all cleaned up?
Kinda. I mean, it's a good way to keep you hooked, right? Like, you're a captive market.
Move over. Why? What do Jews do to get rid of guilt?
Once a year, Yom Kippur. We get it done all in one day. Way more efficient.
Yeah, but that's just divine guilt. Then there's maternal guilt. That's inescapable.
Oh, damn straight.
Oh, we have that too.
Oh, speaking of which...
Shit, you again?
And if Clark Nova found us here, the Knights of Continuity won't be far behind.
Daniel, I have held up my end of the bargain, and now I've come to collect. Your everlasting soul, remember?
Oh, right. Sorry, I wasn't really listening to you. Yeah, sure. No, that's the Costco card. Oh, here you go.
This is just a piece of paper. One soul, Alex Chew. What the fuck is this?
Kid I grew up with. Back in middle school, instead of trading PB&Js at lunchtime, I started selling them for other kids' souls. I've got like 100.
Wait, you can't. That's not how this works.
Deal's a deal.
And besides, since when did you make deals for anything other than bug powder?
Or been at all helpful?
Or not tried to drive us crazy?
Or murderous?
You know what?
It's getting all sanctimonious again.
That word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Hey, what's that weird mist coming out of Clark Nova?
Yeah, I'm not a mist, I'm a fucking demon. And you people suck. You're way too far gone to corrupt. And your pet is way too freaky for me. Thank you very much. Gets possessed by a demon and you think it's acting nicer? What the fuck is wrong with you?
I ask that a lot.
You know what? Fuck this. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. You are so not cool. And fuck you. Jersey Devil, out.
Hey, wait, no.
Whoa, hey,
No, hold on.
Hey, the apostates. There they are.
Run, guys! Oh, hold the door! Hold door!
Too soon!
I got something to say. It's better to burn out than to fade away!
So, you want to go toe-to-toe with the stallion?
He's got a fucking sword, you moron. You're gonna get run through, not burned out.
Listen, I know the rules about churches. No sword duels on holy ground, and there can be only one, right?
Aren't those the rules to Highlander?
Basically the same thing when you come down to it. Ah! Jesus! What the fuck? Ah! Whoa, maybe not.
Hey, hold still, I'm trying to clobber you here.
Oh, watch out for the
Shit, what's past the
window.
He defenestrated himself.
Right into the Prague Canal.
Isn't it ironic?
Don't you think?
I said no.
Guys.
Yeah, guys.
Oh, shit.
Grab him.
We really should have run while Zach was being bravely stupid. Stupidly brave.
You mooks got any last words?
Well, yes. Since you so rudely interrupted us, we do.
Oh, this one's never out of words.
Look, it's a simple story. In the
Shut
beginning...
the fuck up. Can I please cut the heads off already?
Well, we had a good run, fellows.
What? No, we didn't. I don't want to get murdered by some loonies dressed like saints, just surrounded by all y'all fuckwads.
Hold your heads up, comrades. Be proud of the final moments.
Speak for yourself.
I'm not ready to die. I haven't finished correcting all the bad Cantonese and Firefly.
And I was just a year away from getting tenure.
Gee, that sucks.
So you'll let me live?
Nope.
Do it slow. Want to enjoy this.
Oh, yeah!
What the hell? That looks like the Poke-mobile.
Get in, losers. We're going escaping.
Improper verb tense. I'll allow it.
Hey! You can't do that. That's our sacred Pope mobile.
Newsflash, ass butts. I'm Jewish.
Aspetta, Barone!
Initiate maneuver reverse clown car.
Out of the way.
At least your balls.
My nose.
Oh God, this is tighter than those confessional booths. There, hang a right. And another right.
Where are you taking us?
One more right.
This is all wrong.
So is stealing a Pope mobile.
Well, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Don't worry. In Jersey, 3 rights make a left. And okay. Whew, we're safe. We're on the Parkway.
What sign are we looking for? And how do we get out of this godforsaken land?
Just keep going till you run out of exits.
You know, Danny boy, it turns out I am in fact Malachite, the depilatory will consume all souls. And now...
Yeah, okay.
So you know what a depilatory is, you...
Dude, make him shut up or I'm throwing him out the window. Oh, wait, what's the word for throwing someone out a window again?
No one's listening to you. No,
But you don't understand.
No.
That episode of the Cinemania Society was written, produced, and performed by Andrew Palladino, Andy Slack, Daniel Scribner, Ethan Ireland, Zachariah Burks, and Hope Bravo. Sound design, mixing, mastering, and editing by Ethan Ireland. Music by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. Sound effects and incidental music courtesy of Epidemic Sound. Visit our social media feeds on Facebook, Twitter, no, I'm not calling it whatever that other name is, at TCS_Cinemania, Instagram at The Cinemania Society, and Reddit at r/The Cinemania Society. If you really like what you've heard, visit us on Patreon and chuck us a couple bones, because making podcasts ain't free. The Cinemania Society is a product of the Cinemania Society, LLC.